I'm John, your Mindset Moto Guy. Strap on your helmet, put up your kickstand as we ride into another episode uncovering the parallels between the world of riding motorcycles and the ultimate vehicle, your very own identity. Let's go riding. Did I pay you to learn how to ride a motorcycle, or did you pay me? This is the question I asked a student who continued to struggle with a straightforward skill because he had convinced himself that he had to do it perfect or else. Or else what is the real question. Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Upshift Your Life podcast. I'm John, your Mindset Moto Guy, and today we're diving into a challenge many of us face, throttling through hairpin turns of perfection. You know, perfectionism. It's like trying to ride a motorcycle with the brakes on. It might look shiny on the outside, but it's not going to get you anywhere. So I've been there, and I have seen many riders stuck in that same rut. But fear not, because today we're not just going to talk about the problem, we're going to unpack the tools and techniques to break free from this perfectionism and upshift your life. Perfectionism is actually an action we choose to do to avoid doing the things in the first place, because it conveniently paralyzes us so we don't have to actually do the thing. The trouble is that then we judge ourselves for not doing the thing, and then we push harder to make it more perfect, and then we judge ourselves even harder. Stop it! I'd put money on the fact that if you don't even have the right to be so hard on yourself, you aren't good enough yet to be have such a high expectation because you haven't even started. Go easy on yourself. Let me share a little story with you that I think clarifies this pretty well. I was teaching a student one time, a beginner class, and he had come back for a retest because he'd failed this road test. And he was doing pretty good in the class. I'd had him in the original class, and he was riding well. He was actually a pilot. And, you know, talented guy, smart guy, physically fit. There's no reason he should have been struggling like he was, except that he'd gotten this perfectionism bug in his helmet, and he just had to do everything perfect. Couldn't stand himself for getting it wrong. And I was working with him in the retest, and he was doing the skills. I could see he had the skills down, but he just wouldn't let himself accomplish the techniques. And he was struggling. I'd explain it to him a different way. He'd go out, he'd struggle, I'd come back, I'd reapply a different story or a different technique to give him to try to get through his head. And he'd look at me, he'd say, yes, I get it. He'd explain it back to me, no problem. And then he'd go out and he'd flop it over and over again. I was getting pretty frustrated, and I'm not a guy that gets frustrated with people. This is one of my favorite things to do. But he just wasn't doing his thing. So I finally looked at him and I said, did I pay you to learn how to ride a motorcycle, or did you pay me? And he looked at me and he just shook his head and kind of looked down at the bike for a second, took a nice deep breath, exhaled it, and went out and aced the skill. No second try, right out of the box, perfect, smooth, instructor worthy. He finally let go of this damn perfectionism thing and just went for it and took the action he'd been avoiding over and over and over again, and he nailed it. So remember, perfectionism can be a manifestation of this judgment, especially self-judgment. You know, we've learned to judge ourselves based on all kinds of unreal expectations. All right, we don't have the right to even judge ourselves for most of the stuff that we go after ourselves for. It's ridiculous. So let's peel back these layers and really understand that your value isn't tied to being perfect. It's tied to being authentic, to being you on your journey. Action beats perfection. One of the most significant inhibitors to our progress in upshifting our lives is waiting around for everything to be perfect before taking those actions. It rarely is going to be the case. I, in fact, am a victim of this. I sat on this very podcast for 3.5 years before I finally launched it, so I completely relate. So start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Action builds this momentum and crushes this perfectionism. This perfectionism is just rubbish, right? So with that, I think that's enough for today. Throttling through these hairpin turns of perfectionism might be tempting, but stop. You're armed with the right mindset tools now. to break free and ride across this into success. It's not about being perfect. It's about being perfectly you. And the more you practice this, not only do you get better, you actually stop teaching yourself how to do it wrong. And right is the only way you actually learn how to do it. So with that, until next time, this is John, your Mindset Moto Guy, reminding you to keep the shiny side up, ride well, and ride lots. As we put the side stand down on another thrilling episode of the Upshift Your Life podcast, remember this: life's challenges are a lot like those unexpected twists and turns on the open road. The key to mastering them lies in mastering your own identity. If you've enjoyed today's ride and want to go on more of these mindset adventures, remember to hit that follow button so you don't miss a single ride with us. And join our free community at upshiftyourlife.com for daily tips, events, and much more. Until next time, this is John, your Mindset Moto Guy, encouraging you to ride well and ride often so you can keep the rubber side down and keep upshifting your life.